So, okay, we have with us Radim Sršeň from the Committee of the Regions, who is one of our panelists, yes. And I would ask the panelists to go on stage and sit on those chairs in whatever order. And then we have Lidija Pavić-Rogošić from the European Economic and Social Committee, so the two consultative bodies of the Commission that are very important. And at the same time, they are both members of our Rural Pact Coordination Group. Then we have Piotr Sadłocha from Poland, who is president of the European Leader Association for Rural Development, so ELARD. And we have Marianne Selkäinaho from Finland. Sorry, you were at the beginning, you were here, and then you've changed place. From the Ministry of Agriculture, so representing the public sector, and we have Schmitz, who's also representing public authorities, but more at the local and regional level from the Conference of European Municipalities and Regions. And yes, and of course the panelists have been with us for a long time, cooperating with us. They have worked with us on many different occasions. And we are extremely grateful that they found the time and the willingness to, again, contribute their views and the views of their organizations on the proposal. So my instructions generally for the panelists is you will have 2 rounds of questions, as you know. And I will ask one question to each of you representing the point of view of your organization. And then the second question, I would be very grateful if you could keep to 3 to 4 minutes for your interventions. And then if we have the time, maybe we will have maybe around the contributions from the audience, but not sure. And then maybe last word from you. You can speak in whichever order you want. Okay, so the first question, fairly simple. What is your overall view of the proposals? What do you think about them? But of course, as a framework for rural support, so to address rural needs. But the difficult part of the question is to mention one good point and one risk. So you have to find something good about the proposal, and something that could be retained through the negotiations, and something that you think is risky and might have to be changed. Don't know. Maybe Lidija, you want to start first? Ladies first. Okay, we go.
I was hoping for that.
You have a microphone?
Thank you very much, Ursula. Yes, I think we heard today and before also that, and we can all agree that next MFF should bear one clear message, and that the rural developments must be treated as a strategic priority, not at food. So some good remarks about it. We welcome to explicit recognition of rural development within the fund scope, but by placing it alongside cohesion, agriculture and maritime sector affirms EU's commitment to territorial balance. The EU sends a signal that rural communities are not peripheral. They are central to Europe's green and digital transition, to fuel security and to demographic renewal. That's not just symbolic, it's strategic. We also welcome to shift towards place-based planning through national and regional partnership plans that we already mentioned today. It was mentioned, and move from the top-down mandates to regional and locally shaped priorities is a step toward better and more subsidiarity. It gives rural communities the chance to define their own future based on their unique assets and challenges. We also support, as I previously mentioned, integrated approach and synergies between policies, and also partnership approach. but we must also confront the risk, and that's based on our experience in implementing, planning and implementing different programs in our countries. And the chief risk among them is the potential loss of rural sexual identity. It's already mentioned by different speakers today. And by merging rural development into horizontal regulation, we risk diluting its distinct needs, like the population, service access, and digital exclusion. This cannot be addressed adequately if rural priorities are overshadowed by broader cohesion or agricultural goals. There are also concerns about urban bias. Without rural proofing mechanism, we also mentioned it today, integrated plans may unintentionally favor urban centers, leaving remote and scarcely populated areas behind. And let's not forget the capacity gaps, not only on national level, but also with smaller rural administration. They might struggle to navigate the technical demands and of the new framework, especially when we talk of preparing complex partnership plans. And of course, we have to mention LEADER and CLLD approach, which was once the EU flagship for participatory rural development, and now it might be at a crossroads. Without ring-fence funding and binding commitments, they risk become optional add-ons rather than core instruments of local empowerment. LAGs must be recognized not just as the project managers, but as governance actors, trusted partners in shaping, implementing, and monitoring rural strategies. So to summarize, key challenges are rural needs may be overlooked in competitive EU-level programs. LAGs and small actors face administrative burdens. LEADER and CLLD risk being reduced to narrow administrative tools. National envelopes are shrinking, limiting member states' ability to tailor rural strategies. So in short, the proposed fund lays a foundation, but it must be strengthened with dedicated rural chapters, inclusive eligibility, and measurable commitments aligned with the 2040 rural vision. I think this rural vision is somehow put aside, and I think it's very, and we think in ESC it's very important and very good approach to thinking about rural development. And why all that? Because rural Europe deserves more than the gesture, it deserves guarantees.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I hope I was.
See, you found quite a few risks. I see that's a long list. Maybe Marianne next. Well, we do follow this principle.
Thank you. And you asked for one positive and one risk or negative thing. And I think I have them quite mixed because things are not so clear at this point. On paper, this integrated approach may open up new possibilities, but in practice it's total disaster because you may think that there are no silos in this integrated approach, but there are those silos, and I think it's really difficult to break them. But of course, we are trying to, and in the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, we are responsible for the rural development in Finland, and we have the most rural CAP plan this period in the whole EU, I dare to say, because we have taken every possibility for rural measures beyond agriculture and even beyond LEADER. They are larger projects. And it has been working well in Finland, and we are now making the evaluation about this system that we have had, but about the future, you never know if you can use it anymore, but we hope to use it in the future as well. And of course, when you talk about risks in Finland, we have to mention the 1,300 kilometers border with Russia. And of course, it's understandable that funding goes to the heavy defending, and that we understand. But we also must see that those people who live in the borderline, in the really rural areas, they are farmers, they are other entrepreneurs, and there are people living there. They are not empty areas. And I think they are the greatest defenders of our EU borderline at this point. So we must also see the soft defending meaning.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I suggest maybe Radim. Next. There's one more microphone.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry if I will speak in chaotic way, but I spent 9 hours on my flight from Prague to Brussels last night, so it was almost like New York, or more than to New York actually. And being 6 hours in Ostende airport with no food, no drinks, and no information looks as a disadvantage, but I was sitting next to two powerful Czech MEPs, you know, sharing last package of cashew nuts with them, so I think you would never have such an opportunity to speak for 6 hours to MEPs. So we were discussing quite a lot, MFF proposals and the situation in the European Parliament, the gossips. So it was actually very, very good, but I came here at 6 o'clock, so sorry for that. I would like to be optimistic. I will also speak about the risks, of course, but to be optimistic, because it seems to me, being at different events last several weeks, it seems to me as a funeral of rural areas. But for me, it's 18 years birthday, you know. When we are 18 years in the Czech Republic, you are always thinking to leave your family nest. You are doing so-called maturity exam, you know, which is the one that you are, for the first time, being responsible for yourself. And you are defining and showing what you can do, you know. And I think this is actually the period now we are having, because we have proposals which are a threat. We are using the safety measures, you know, but on the other hand, it's a big opportunity, you know. And looking to many member states and rural areas, you know, and I definitely hate the term smart shrinking the US uses, you know, for rural areas. Sometimes also OECD, but Enrique does not use it when I am in the room, luckily. So I think, and I see smart shrinking in many member states which already overcame the Rubicon, using the efficiency measures being finally not efficient, you know, and being much more cost effective to take the people back. You know, we need to find the opportunities, because the rural areas cannot survive with the policy which used to be there for dozens of years. We have new challenges, you know, in many areas, from energy, food security, security as such, resilience, you know, all demography. So really there is a lot of challenges we have to solve, and we cannot solve it with 5% from leader or, I don't know, some kind of ring fencing. So the new proposals actually are an opportunity. It's a big window of opportunity, but we have to prove, to define, you know, how to define the space for rural areas, which they deserve it, because if we speak about cohesion and cohesion policy, it's about making the scissors to close, not to open. So we just need to use them. I hope that Mr. Berkovits, as last week he said that there will be much more space for rural development in the next cohesion policy, so I hope he will repeat it in the afternoon, you know. So that's something which I feel it's very important. Secondly, you know, I am always, when we are speaking about rural areas on the national level or on the European level, it's a pity that there is a lot of people who are not really living in rural areas and deciding about rural areas. Some of them are going to rural areas for holidays, you know, so, you know, they think it's perfect, everything is great, you know, and there is a culture community and it's, you know, excellent. But, you know, I am a rural guy. I used my right to stay 19 years ago, a right to return from Brussels to the rural municipality 250 kilometers from Prague. I am not a bloody politician, being a mayor for 15 years, but I am also a passionate trombone player, playing in free bands. I am passionate skier, being a member of ski club, unfortunately in veteran category, and being a people who really talk to people in the rural area. And I think rural areas deserve the opportunity, deserve the transformation. And this is the positive thing about the proposals, that we can find a place, we can find the resources, and we have to advocate for that. We shouldn't just criticize that everything is bad, but we need to find the place. That's also what the European Committee of the Regions is now doing. We are having different opinions on the future of on NRPP, National Regional Partnership Plans, on a multi-annual financial framework, on the future of CAP, and hopefully we will have also a concrete opinion on the future of the rural development in the new architecture. And if you talk to people in Commission, they always ask, okay, but do not say that it's amazing, it's vivid, we need, concrete proposals. What you want, where there is a place for rural development. And that's actually our role. And I'm very happy that the Rural Pact or European Rural Parliament, where I've been 2 weeks ago, are ruled through people who live in rural areas, and they can give the proposals. And we need to take the information within the Rural Pact and other initiatives in our institutions, really to use it, and to put it into the proposals. This is the opportunity and optimism. And the negative things, of course, as a Committee of the Regions, we are criticizing because there is a regional as a term in the name of the plans, but there is no any regional dimension at all, So there is a big threat that there won't be any place for local and regional level in the new proposals. Secondly, what will be the role of the local and regional players in approving those plans, because this is also important, because then there is a risk for national government that they will put there the centrally needed things, etc., etc. And finally, the danger of partnership, because the partnership is the cornerstone, of the European integration process. It has always been, and there should be safety measures to fulfill the partnership principles. So those are the risks, but I am sure that we can overcome those risks and we can put the safety measure into the proposals. But we'll talk about the tools later. I think I spent my time already.
Okay, thank you very much, Radim. Still very useful. And then maybe Piotr, you already have a microphone.
Hello. Good afternoon. I would like to be positive, but unfortunately, probably I will not be. But of course, I found 2 positive points. One is lump sum. We have a great experience in Poland with lump sum. For example, in period 2007 to 2013, my luck created about 10 places, 10 jobs. In last period, we created almost 100 jobs. In the last period, we implemented lump sums. So it is why lump sums is very positive and can support the rural development. It's good, but unfortunately, big but, as I said. When we read regulations about this new fund with very long, strange name, I cannot remember this name. We have Articles 76 and 77. 77 is directly about leader, and the lump sum is there. We have nothing about lump sums in CLD, which we have described in Article 76. Why? I want to ask why. Why we, in one article, have CLD, in another article we have leader. Can we call it leader/CLD in all the regulations? To make it clear that leader and CLDs is the same. Believe me, I know 16 regional authorities in Poland, and I know how they can interpret it. The regulations should be very simple, very clear. So for me, it's a risk, big risk, if regulation will not be very clear. Another thing positive, there is a leader. I should be happy. But why only in CAP? Why we have obligation for leader only in CAP? I asked why. Why we don't have obligation for leader in cohesion policy? Why we don't have obligation for leader CLD in ASF regulations and maritime fishery regulations? Why? Simple questions. Please give me answer. And I won't leave this room with this answer, because I don't understand why we have obligations in regulations about cohesion policy for integrated territorial instruments, and we do not have obligations for leader CLD. if we have obligation for integrated territorial instruments, we will support only cities and suburbs. What about remote rural area? What about people who live there? Like me, like my children, like my wife, like my family. Please give me simple answer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. So you're pointing out to certain inconsistencies, and I understand you're referring to this period as well, but also how this will happen in the future in the same way. Okay, and then Michael, please.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid I won't be very balanced either. But for the positive parts, I actually think it is, in theory, as you said, I agree, moving away from silos, in theory. And speaking for local authorities, that's actually a good thing. Because for local authorities, it's actually about the challenges on the ground and that there is funding addressing these challenges. Whether that comes from EAFRD or ERDF doesn't really matter. What matters is for small municipalities that they have the same access that big municipalities, big cities have. And that's only achieved by making things simpler. And I think there is an opportunity for making things simpler. I think the rules actually are less concrete. Coming from Germany, I'm a bit worried that we'll add a few things in the national implementation, but the general rules are very abstract and leave a lot of room. And we could try to use this room to actually have a challenge-based or have funding that addresses the most pressing challenges. Now for the negative parts. I'm really worried about the future of LIDA. I'll be very honest. And I think in these times, LIDA is more urgently needed than ever. Coming from Germany, I think we have rural areas, and LIDA shows us how Europe can really help rural areas and really interact and empower citizens. The colleague from DG Agri said there's now mandatory LIDA. I don't really know. From what I understand, in the CAP regulation, it says at least in areas or regions facing specific challenges, but there's no definition of these challenges. So I don't know if there's mandatory LIDA, and I know there's no earmarking, and I know that co-financing rates are down. And I know that at least for Germany, I can say these local action groups, they can provide the money necessary to keep up LIDA. So I don't know if LIDA is secure. I don't think it is, honestly. And in the CAP regulation, it says LIDA projects should provide added value for farmers. That is odd. Honestly, for me, that doesn't make any sense. I think farming should provide added value for citizens, which it does. But I don't think LIDA should have added value for farmers. I think we should look at rural development not only as farming related. When we talk about generational renewal, for example, I think, you can't really have only farmers in a region. And farmers are very helpful, but they don't keep the population alive. If there's no enterprises, if there's no schools, you can't keep rural areas alive only with farmers. You need to keep the rest there as well. And I think that's kind of missing at the moment. I'm a bit worried because there's no earmarking. I'm a bit worried that farmers or that agri funding can now use possibly ERDF funding. That is, I know I talked to Mario about this a while ago, and apparently that's been possible in the past too, but I'm a bit worried that there's no earmarking for proper structural policies and proper rural development. And just three more things. I'll just say it. So the territorial tracking refers to the degree of urbanization that was written by DG Regio. And I remember in the past it was anything above 50,000 inhabitants is a city, below that it's rural. Now it's been changed, anything below 5,000 inhabitants is rural. So you kind of have a definition that is only addressing areas where nobody really lives. And we in Germany, we have a completely different approach. We actually look at rural areas as areas that have rural, but also urban centers in them, but they still consider it rural. It's an integrated approach. And I think that's kind of missing. Second thing is in the performance framework, where you look at the indicators, most of them are, and I'll use the word, quantitative demographic factors, meaning how many people are addressed through the funding. That favors cities. That favors densely populated areas because it's easier to reach thousands of people through a project. And the last thing, I just wanted to say the reforms, because we talked about this. The reforms that were mentioned and the reforms that are in the national plans are actually referring to the European semester and the country-specific recommendations, which, to my knowledge, are written by DG Regio and DG Empel, not DG Agri. I don't know, maybe you're involved, I don't know. But from what I know, and I've written our contribution to the country-specific recommendations, there was nothing on rural areas in those in the past. So if you have reforms in the national reform plans that come from the country-specific recommendations, there won't be any rural in it. So I think there are a few inconsistencies. I think we can work on those. I think we can make it better. But I think we really need to see how can we help the people on the ground. And this should be the starting point. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Michael. And that's actually, you've been very concrete, and that's already a very good introduction to the next round of questions, where, and I'm sorry, I'm going to give you not 3 to 4, but 2 to 3 minutes to contribute for the second time, because, well, you've already mentioned some of the concrete suggestions, so let's shorten it. And the second question is very much, what can be done to strengthen the proposals so that they are even, that they really bring benefit to rural areas? So what should be changed? Please make some specific suggestions for changes for proposals. And my suggestion, we change the order a little bit. We start with Marianne and then Lidija, and then Michael, Piotr, and Radim. If we go ladies first, but in a different order.
Thank you. There has been really good examples already how to strengthen the proposal, and the Finland's point of view and Finland's rural point of view, because we have many of those views, of course. We really need the Commission recommendation for rural measures and for leader GLLD, both in CAP and NRP. And these are really, really important for us because I was mentioning about those silos. So we have to fight the fight in the member state, and it's not fair. But we think that these Commission recommendations would give the headlines and way how to negotiate in the member states. Then the partnership part. Local and regional authorities and other relevant actors are really important in this strengthening this proposal and implementing that in the first place. And I think the common guidelines, I don't know what kind of guidelines, but it could be great to have certain guidelines how to make sure that everybody is involved. And of course, this whole system needs close coordination and trust between different DGs at the EU level and in member states, in our administrative branches, and between, together with the regional and local actors. So maybe this is this capacity building that we have to learn to trust each other and learn to how to make things together.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Lidija, then?
Thank you very much. Yes, ESC is preparing several opinions on MFF, on CAP, and on this fund with the long name. I have to read it. European Fund for Economic, Social and Territorial Cohesion, Agriculture and Rural Fisheries and Maritime Prosperity and Security. It's really a long and without reading you can't remember it. But so our opinion will be soon sent to the Commission and other bodies. But our message might be that if we want our proposals to deliver real result for rural communities, we must move from advocacy that Radim mentioned to actions, actually. And we believe in ESC that together with EU networks and Rural Pact members, we have a responsibility to push for stronger safeguard. And that's this event and others can help in that. So my colleagues already mentioned some needs that can be transformed in the ways to strengthen the framework, and first might be mandatory rural chapters in national and regional partnership plan with clear goals, indicators, and accountability mechanisms. This ensures visibility and measurable progress for rural communities, and we know what gets measured gets funded, and what gets funded gets done. So that's something that it's important. And then Michael already mentioned dedicated funding streams beyond agriculture, because rural development indeed is not just farming, and EU funding must support rural innovation, youth engagement, essential services, cultural initiatives, and similar. That's why ring-fence allocation for LEADER and CLLD, taking into account the missing points that Piotr and Michael mentioned, are critical to maintain stable community-led local development. And without them, we risk reducing LEADER to a narrow administrative tool, and that's not the initial idea that started many years ago all over Europe. And then we need empowerment of local governance actors, local action groups, and civil society must be recognized as strategic governance partners, not just implementers. Simplified access to EU programs and rural proofing, don't forget this, we talked this morning about that, of all policies will help ensure inclusive participation and territorial cohesion. We know that funding landscape is shifting, so centrally managed programs like Horizon and Digital Europe offer really exciting opportunities for innovation and cross-border cooperation, but they also bring risks like less flexibility for national priorities, more complexity, and higher administrative burdens, and especially for small rural actors. Maybe I should mention it before, but we should not forget that. And that's why we must ensure that rural communities are not just beneficiaries, but co-authors of future strategies. And yes, the fund provides a framework, but it is up to us to make it a vehicle for the rural vision. I again mention rural vision because we shouldn't forget it. And it's not just in rhetoric, but in results. And yes, because territorial cohesion is not a slogan, it's democratic imperative, and we are talking a lot about strengthening democracy in EU. And yes, because rural communities deserve visibility, value, and most important, voice.
Okay, thank you very much. A lot of ideas, very, very rich. Okay, and then we go, Michael.
And I'll be brief. I spoke too long in the first round. So just build on what we have. So we have the rural vision. That was a rural vision until 2040. We're not in 2040. So maybe we can work on that. Also, think about safeguards. How do we ensure that the money is really going to rural areas as a structural policy? I've talked to DG Regio officials, and they said, well, there are safeguards because the managing authorities have to explain what they do. But I'm wondering, so what happens then? So will somebody check this? Will somebody say this is not sufficient, or is this a formal requirement? Because I can explain what we do for rural development easily, and if that is that, then it's not helpful. I've been against earmarking for a long time because I kind of like the idea of flexibility. But the problem is I see now that it won't work without earmarking for rural development. And I mean proper rural development, again. And the last thing, working for a local government association, I just have to say, look also at the situation of local governments. Look at local finances. Look at local and regional finances. At least I can tell you for Germany and in many other member states, we will come to a point where local authorities will have problems providing basic services. And if that goes away, then we'll have an entirely different problem in rural areas. So just maybe this is something we could also take into account and maybe discuss how the EU can help local authorities, provide these things. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for bringing up this point of view also. Okay, and then Piotr?
Okay, so first I have one request. Please read carefully and consider the recommendation which we spread to all DG, to commissioners. We put there some points what we think that should be changed in these 5 regulations. First, of course, we have Article 4, when we have a definition of beneficiary in CAP, and unfortunately, only farmers. Okay, maybe only farmers, but why? Then we have Articles 76, 77 in the same regulations. To make clear that CLD and leader is the same. If we talk about CAB regulations, Article 18, we need wider, more responsibility in a LACs, because in this proposal, we don't have responsibility for launching call for proposals and for making decision about the level of support, which we had in previous periods and in this period. And again, question, why? Why we cannot make such a decision in next period? And as I said before, some recommendation we have to put obligation for leader CLD in cohesion policy, in SF plus, and maritime fishery funds. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So very concrete with articles, concrete points where things can be changed. Thank you very much. And then Radim?
Okay, what are the tools? We have a lot of tools actually. We have leader CLD being very successful. We have smart villages, we have rural pact, we have rural proofing, we have startup villages. So we have a lot of tools which are very effective. The only problem is that they are not used, so especially by the member states. We have a big nice fund. I'm using this for this complicated name, the terminology of Donald Trump. So big nice fund. I don't think it's clever to have a direct payments for farmers there, to be open. So I hope this should be taken out, not rural development, but the direct payments. One of the solutions may be coming from the debates in the European Parliament, as I got it in the morning in the plane, is that there might be bigger budget or the paying off the loans for RRF will be slower, so there might be 10% more, 0.1 GDP more. So it means that there might be more resources, as a result. So it should be used, of course, or maybe for rural areas. For me, ring fencing, generally for rural development, is a must. Obligation of leader CLLD also, but with money, because the people from the Czech ministry are presenting. Yesterday we had a presentation, and on the first slide they have, there is obligation, but with no money, because they were told by Hansen that there is no money, like that there is obligation, but it can be used from other means. So obligation. We have also to really use the tools like rule proofing, because it's not it's a term, but there is no clear definition. Even in Scotland they have better definition of rule proofing than we have in Europe. So we need to deliver the long-term vision for rural areas, measuring the outcomes, not just speaking about it. And of course we need to make policies for people, as you said, but not just in rural areas. I hope as a politician that I'm doing politics for the people. But unfortunately, we see that it's not common in Europe, as we see the results of elections, especially in rural areas, we see the geography of this content. But we need to deliver the policies to the people, because then the Europe will collapse, finally, because as we see it being very, very vulnerable. And finally, we need to look for new opportunities. There was not anyone speaking about competition fund, for example. And being at the European Rural Parliament, we clearly heard that there will be also allocation for rural development in the Horizon programs, etc. So, we just need to look out of the boxes. And what's the most important is engagement of all of you, because now the mother, European Union is not giving us the funds, it's not granted. We have to prove ourselves that we are able to survive. And it's up all of you, every individual, to fight for rural areas on your national, regional, European level. So please make commitment to the Rural Pact, make your activities. And I can promise that if we just join our forces, we all go in the same direction. We have the common position coming from the declaration of the Rural Pact, etc. So we will be successful. And I hope that when we meet here in 2, 3, 4 years, you will be successful. We all feel that we are successful, and you will be happy about the future of rural areas. So please join forces, and I'm sure we can make it.
Many thanks for this positive note on the end. Thank you all very, very much. You've been very disciplined. If you really want to have a last word, just I give you a chance, but it's not an obligation if somebody wants to. But otherwise, thank you very much. I think we have to really thank all the panelists for their great and varied contributions.